Hello and welcome to Jaguar Student Organization Training, where we're going to review all the policies and procedures involved with being a student organization at Texas A&M University, San Antonio. I first want to introduce you to the Office of Student Life. The director is Emily Bonda, who advises Student Government Association, oversees other administrative tasks, and does assessment for the office. The other assistant director position is currently vacant. That was vacated by Christina Dominguez, who oversaw student organizations, fraternity and sorority life, and JAGSing. So when you're probably listening and watching this, those tasks are going to be absorbed by Emily Bonda and Kelsey Kroll until that position is filled. And then you have the other assistant director for student life, Jared Brown. He oversees campus activities board, Mr. and Miss A&M San Antonio, and other campus-wide programming such as weeks of welcome and finals extravaganza. And then you have our admin assistant, Kelsey Kroll, who does everything else. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without Emily's and Kelsey's help and support. We do want to review the three types of student organizations that we have on campus. Our first one is called our special interest groups. So these are groups who meet regularly or often and only speak over topics of interest. They cannot fundraise. They do not have the privilege of traveling with the university name or receive funding from the university. So they can meet and use university space for meetings. They do not have a GPA requirement. There is no advisor requirement. There is no minimum number of students. They are not eligible to receive funding from the university. They definitely should register annually with our office and complete the new interest group training, which is new for 2023. And then we have recognized student organizations. These are groups that are regulated by individualized constitutions, university policies, have a minimum of 7 members, and they do have the privilege of fundraising once they are recognized on our campus. So we have recently changed the minimum number of students. Previously it was 10, but now we have lowered it down to 7. We do think this is going to help remove barriers for student organizations that were struggling to reach and maintain the 10 members required. So we hope this is a positive change for our student organizations. Recognized student organizations do need a minimum requirement in their constitution of a 2.0 GPA for undergraduate and a 3.0 for graduate students. They can also meet and use university space for events. A constitution is required, an advisor is required, and campus funding is available to our recognized student organizations when they register on time. And then you have university-sponsored organizations. These are organizations that are created by a university department or division to support the ongoing interests of the university community. They are university and departmentally funded. They are departmentally advised. And again, they do require the minimum GPA of an undergraduate for a 2.0 and a graduate of 3.0. So there are some times when an interest group starts off as an interest group and then becomes a recognized student organization. But then there are some times when an interest group truly is just an interest group. So an example would be the Origami Club. They just want to meet. They want to be able to reserve space on campus to meet and talk about the latest trends in origami. But then we do have some other student organizations who genuinely do want to become a recognized organization, but until they meet all those requirements listed there, they stay in the interest group category. And then we do have opportunities where recognized student organizations have become sponsored student organizations. Those are mostly academic organizations, and then the colleges invest and see the potential of having a student organization sponsored by their department. And so that university department reaches out and says, hey, we want to sponsor, for example, XYZ business organization. So those are just examples of our different types of categories that we have on campus. I've made this chart so that it's it helps people see the differences between our organizations. So in that left-hand column, you'll see the privileges, and then the check marks mean, the check marks or X's mean that this organization is able to have that function. So all organizations, as long as they are registered through our Office of Student Life, does have the privilege to meet on campus, request space, and tabling in JAG-Sync. So interest group, recognized student organizations, and university-sponsored orgs. Hosting events, that is only a privilege of recognized student organizations and university-sponsored organizations. Interest groups cannot host events, but they can still recruit and have meetings. But they cannot bring, for example, a campus-wide speaker and open it up to campus. Interest groups only have closed events for their members. They unfortunately cannot host something that is a campus-wide. They can co-host with recognized organizations or departments, that all three organizations can do that. For constitution, an interest group is not required to have one. Recognized organizations are required to have one, and sponsored organizations, they are not required, but it is recommended that they have either a constitution or some guidelines in place to show how that organization is run. GPA requirements, interest groups require no GPA. Recognized organizations and sponsored organizations do have a required GPA. An advisor is not required for an interest group, but it is required for recognized and university sponsored. Eligible for funding from the Office of Student Life. Sponsored orgs and interest groups do not receive funding from the Office of Student Life. Only recognized student organizations do. This is because interest groups have not completed the recognition process, and sponsored organizations receive sponsoring university funding from that department that is sponsoring them. All organizations should register annually, so that's happening at the beginning of the academic year. Mandatory trainings that are required for organizations. For interest groups, it should say JAG-Sync, and which is going to be included in the new interest group training. JAG-Sync, Jaguar Student Organization, risk management, and fundraising training are all required for recognized student organizations. And then JAG-Sync, Jaguar Student Organization training, risk management training, and fundraising training is also required for sponsored organizations. For an interest group to be active, you need at least one person to get it going. For recognized student organizations, it should change. That is now 7. And then for university-sponsored organizations, we don't necessarily have a requirement for a number of students. Interest groups do not have the privilege to fundraise. Recognized student organizations and sponsored organizations do. And we'll kind of review fundraising guidelines in a little bit. For social media, all organizations can have social medias, but the social media handle, only sponsored organizations are allowed to put the ANMSA TMUSA or abbreviation before the organization name. That is because those organizations are university sponsored. All other organizations and interest groups must have the organization name before TMUSA. So you are the Origami Club at TMUSA. So you are not TMUSA or Origami Club. So it should say your handle should be something along the lines of the organization name and then TMUSA. For recognized organizations, there are annual requirements that you must complete to maintain your recognition on campus. So all recognized student organizations must complete the following every academic year. You must re-register annually in JAG-Sync, submit the advisor expectation form. Your advisor must be a full-time faculty or staff member at A&M San Antonio. We cannot accept part-time or graduate assistants. They are not eligible to be advisors. You should always update your membership roster. You want to remove any outgoing officers and members who are no longer active in your organization because maybe they've graduated or for any other reason. Your organization must have at least 7 members to remain recognized unless your national organization requires differently. So normally this is an example of like a fraternity or sorority. If your national organization says, you only need 5 members to be an active organization with us nationally, then we'll defer to whatever your national organization says. We do require a constitution. You want to make sure that your constitution is always the most recent and updated version. You should be reviewing your constitution every 2 to 3 years. At this point, all organizations should have a risk management policy included, and then constitutional guidelines can be found on JAGSync under the Student Organization Leader portal under Documents. And then you must also attend all of the required trainings. Again, required trainings are JAGSync training, Jaguar Student Organization training, risk management training, and then that sub level to risk management training is that you must submit your risk management verification form. And then your organization must continue to send a member to our monthly student organization leader meetings in order to keep your recognized organization status. It is possible for you to lose your recognition status once you have become a recognized organization. This can happen if you are hosting an illegal fundraiser, if you have any kind of student organization misconduct, or any misuse of funds. The next section is going to be about your student organization advisor. It is important for you to realize that this is a voluntary activity that must not interfere with the job responsibilities of that advisor. The only time that it can essentially is when your advisor or when your organization is a sponsored organization, because then it is literally that person's job to advise your organization. If for some reason your faculty or staff member must cease being your advisor, they do need to let our office know so that we can help the organization move forward. An advisor should be knowledgeable of university's policies and procedure, familiar with resources of the university and the community, attend my student organization state-mandated risk management trainings at the beginning of the semester, encourage and stimulate the development of leadership skills among RSO members, as well as provide continuity with the organization's mission, activities, and traditions, provide expert knowledge and advice, co-manage the organization's accounts, suggest and encourage new program ideas, assist and consult in the development of procedures and plans of action, guide the RSO through problem solving and decision making, help the members apply skills learned both in and out of the classroom, assist in maintaining high standards of performance for the group and its members, attend meetings and activities at the RSO, accompany. This is not required, but we encourage them to accompany the organization when traveling to conferences, conventions, or other functions where the organization is a representative of the university. The advisor is generally a mentor or an observer. However, there may come a time in the organization's life where the advisor may need to take a more active role in decision making. The advising style will be determined by the level of development from the group and the context in which the group functions. So an example of when an organization advisor may take more of a lead for the organization is when essentially after COVID, many of our student organizations were not at capacity, meaning that they just didn't have enough resources, enough members, enough people to really carry out the mission of the organization. So a lot of my student organizations took the lead. They were out there tabling, they were recruiting members, they were hosting meetings. So that is an example of when it's okay for an organization to be more a part of the decision making and the running of the organization. I do, however, like to remind students that this, unless you're a sponsored organization in which the sponsored organization's main role is to continue the mission of that department or area, a recognized organization or an interest group are started by students. So those are student organizations. They should be student run. So when you're thinking about what your organization should and should not do in terms of an advisor, your advisor should not be making decisions regularly for your organization. So this is why it's important for you to set up one-on-ones with your advisor to meet with them and give them reports about what's going on in the organization's life, provide minutes, financial statuses, etc. Your student organization and your advisor should be willing to discuss any dissatisfaction on the performance of either party, and then just understand that this is a voluntary activity that must not interfere with their job responsibilities. When you're thinking about what your advisor is going to be doing in JagSync, it is important to let them know that there are going to be some things that they will have to push forward in JagSync, such as in re-registration, they must fill out the advisor agreement. They have to approve your events in JagSync. Now, I do understand that sometimes your advisors may not always see your events in JagSync, and you really need to make sure that your events are getting approved. If for whatever reason, when your organization advisor is tagged on an event, because they are tagged on all of your events, if they decline an event, we will always move forward and decline that event as well, because for us, that's a red flag if your advisor is declining an event. That is why those conversations, those one-on-ones are really important to have with your advisor, because you never want to surprise your advisor. And so if they see an email come through that's like, this or XYZ organization wants to host a fundraiser, and they're like, whoa, XYZ organization never told me about a fundraiser. I'm going to go ahead and decline this event until I have a chance to meet with the, fundraising chair and see what the plan is. And then anytime that you're going to use your money or request money from the Office of Student Life, they will also be tagged on those. What your organization advisor, interest group advisor, the only advisors that are allowed to do this are sponsored organizations, is that your organization's advisors should not be reserving rooms for student organizations, program meetings, or events in Ad Astra. All student organization room reservations must go through JagSync and the Office of Student Life. Will make that reservation as they come in. So again, your student organization advisor should not be making room reservations on behalf of your organization in any reservation system. Only through JagSync can your organization make room reservation requests. If you or your organization advisor are going outside of JagSync to create event requests in the scheduling website, which is at Astra currently, then they will be denied. And you will be asked to email our office and go through the proper procedure. Your student organization is eligible to print flyers and posters, or anything else that you need in terms of like using a printer. There is a form on JagSync called the printing and publication form. So sponsored organizations, we do not do this for you, since again, you are departmentally funded. You should have access to a printer that will provide you an opportunity to print without having to use your own funding. So student organizations, the Office of Student Life is who prints your items so that you don't have to spend your own personal money. So the process to do this is you go to JagSync and you find the printing and publication form, and you upload a flyer. So you're first going to create that flyer and then upload it into the form. And then you want to follow all the directions in the form. That'll come to our office, and we will only review it to make sure that the room location is correct, that there's no defaming language or pornographic material. As long as there's not any of those things, we'll most likely approve it. So we'll approve those flyers. In the form, it'll ask you, do you want them up on the bulletin board? How many copies do you want? That kind of thing. So you'll tell us what kind of flyers you want, how many you want printed, do you want us to put them up for you? And we'll go ahead and get that taken care of. So the flyers will be stamped and they will be available for pickup in our office. And then if you requested that they be hung up on the bulletin boards, we will put them up for 2 weeks or until the day after the event. If for whatever reason we have to deny the flyer, those flyers will be sent back to the student organization to make the corrections. If you are using Canva, which we highly encourage you to do, what you can do is you can submit the editable link to the form so that we can access your flyer and make any little microscopic changes that we may need to. So for example, if you are going to be hosting a meeting and you already submitted your event in JagSync and it's been approved and you know you're going to be in SciTech 103 or, whatever, 105. And then you create the flyer and you accidentally put, SciTech 103, which technically doesn't exist or it's not a classroom. SciTech 105 is a classroom. So let's say you accidentally put the wrong room number on there. When our students are reviewing your flyers, they'll check on your reservation and they'll say, oh, this is the wrong classroom number. And if you sent us the editable link, we can just go in very quickly and change that room number for you so that it's correct. If you did not send us the editable link or you just sent us a hard copy of the flyer, we can't make that change. So we have to deny the request, and then we have to send it back to you. You have to make that edit and then resubmit the form, and then your timeline starts all over. So the timeline to create this has to be, we are asking that you submit it at least 2 weeks prior to the event. So make sure that you are planning accordingly. It may take up to 3 to 5 days to review your print your requests. So if your request is denied and needs to be edited and resubmitted, this does take another 3 to 5 business days. So it is recommended that you submit your flyer at least 2 weeks in advance from your event. Again, your event should have already been approved in JagSync before you make the flyer, because again, you want to make sure you're putting the correct information on the flyer. Anything submitted after 5 p.m. on a weekday or over the weekend will not get reviewed until the next business day. And then you will receive a confirmation email via JagSync when your flyers are ready to be picked up. Just a reminder that in our office in Cab 103, we do have a little creative station, a creative corner, where we have supplies for organizations to make banners, posters, or any other arts and crafts. We have a Cricut, we have some colorful paper, so we have lots of glitter, so you can get creative with what you make. So as you are planning and thinking of events for the fall semester, we want to make sure that you are aware of our event request timeline. So this has been updated yet again. So please make sure you have noted the new timeline that you are required to submit your events. So for virtual events, they are required to be submitted at least 24 hours in advance of the event, but please consider business hours. If you're submitting something on the weekend, our office is closed on the weekend, so we're not going to be able to review that request until the next business day. On-campus room reservation event requests will be required to be submitted at least 15 days in advance. On-campus fundraising event requests are also required to be submitted 15 days in advance. So both of these are new. Previously, they were much shorter timelines, but this year we are really, really needing you all to submit your events 15 business days in advance. Off-campus events that are held within 25 miles of campus just need to be submitted 5 business days in advance, and this includes off-campus fundraising events. If you're having an off-campus event that is outside of 25 miles, you must submit that within 10 business days per university policy, because that is a student travel request. And then all student organizations, except virtual events, are required to submit a risk management matrix when they submit their event request form. If your organization is not If requests are not received in the time described, the Office of Student Life reserves the right to approve or deny the event after a thorough review of the request and will work to identify any potential risks associated with the event. If the organization is consistently not following the new procedure, the student organization faces the following actions. There will be a written warning when the event request is approved or denied. You may have privileges restricted. So, for example, this means that you will not be able to use university space. Funding may be revoked, or you may not be able to apply for co-sponsorship for events. And then if it's the worst case scenario, your organization may be sent to student conduct to the student conduct office for failure to follow university procedures. As you are thinking through your event, we do want to make sure you consider the following. Student organizations are required to register all events in JagSync. In JagSync, you will be able to create your event request along with reserving an on-campus location where your event will take place. So why should you create an event in JagSync? Well, again, other than it being required, because that is how you're going to put in your on-campus room or tabling reservation. It is also the fundraiser request, but it will help you promote your event. You can receive RSVPs, and you can also track your participation. In order to maintain an academic environment, it is very important to know that you are not allowed to host events during study days and finals. So if you submit to have a banquet, because I know a lot of the time that's around the time that y'all want to do your end of year banquets, they will be denied. So make sure you are looking at the academic calendar and you know when finals and study days are, so that you are not submitting events during that time, because again, you will be denied. If your organization is going to have a theme associated with your event, please make sure they are in accordance with university policies and procedures and that the theme reflects positively on the university. The event name, themes, invitation, decorations, t-shirts, and favors should be in good taste and not derogatory in any way. When you are submitting your event request form, it's going to ask you a question about what kind of room setup do you want. It's going to ask you, do you want it auditorium style? Do you want it banquet style? Do you want it classroom style, conference room, lawn area, open space, or outside tabling space? For some reason, this question always confuses some people. So we have decided to break out what this means and what those locations that can host that style is. So I like to start off with classrooms. If you request a classroom, you will get a classroom. We do not do specific room setups in classrooms. For a classroom request, you get a classroom as is. You are more than welcome to set up the classroom, rearrange it how you want to, but you must return that setting to the way it was before you got in there. If you select that you want auditorium style setup, then the only places on campus where we can put a traditional auditorium style setup is the auditorium, the ceremony room, the vista room. If you request a banquet style setup, then the only places that can have that kind of setup is the ceremony room, the vista room, and the auditorium lobby. What that looks like is round tables with chairs. If you want a classroom, again, I already said this, I went over this, you're going to get a traditional classroom, unless you want a larger space like for a conference. So if you request the ceremony room, if you were to request the ceremony room, then we would put tables and chairs, like long tables and chairs. So it would be set up like you were at or in a classroom. A conference room means that you want one table and chairs around it, just like a traditional conference room. So conference rooms on our campus are usually run small. So you want, this is for like a closed meeting, a small meeting, an executive office meeting. That is what a conference room is used for. So don't say you want a conference room and then request the Vista room, which holds 200 people. That is not a space that you would put a conference room. If you wanted a conference room, you could request a smaller classroom or a traditional conference room, which is available. Lawn area is exactly what it sounds like. It means you want the lawn by the Modla statue or the lawn in between Patriots Casa and the CAB building. So those are lawns. Sometimes people reserve them and host tables out there or other events. An open space is normally inside. So like think of like a lobby. So you just want the lobby space, and that's normally for like tabling or fundraising. And then an outside tabling space would be pretty much anywhere on campus where you want to put up a table. Most of the time that's like in the CAP courtyard or the West Lawn, which is the Model Lawn. And these are examples of some of those setup styles. So again, the top right, that is classroom style. So it's traditional tables and chairs. The top left is a traditional conference room. So again, it's much smaller. It's not as big as a classroom. So it's for those smaller closed meetings. And then a banquet style example, again, that's what you would use for maybe an end of year celebration, where you just need round tables and chairs around them. So there's a separate fundraising training that you will be required to go through if you are going to be hosting a fundraiser. But I do like to just go very briefly over what some of the main guidelines are for hosting fundraisers on campus. So until your organization is fully recognized, you do not have fundraising rights on campus. Your fundraising officer, treasurer, or another officer must attend fundraising training. To participate in fundraising, the organization must be a recognized student organization. Your organization must have an on-campus agency account, or an EIN must be set up and established in the organization's name and not in a personal person's name. All fundraising activities must be approved in JagSync 15 days prior to the activity. And just a reminder that the state of Texas only permits one tax-free sale per month. The money collected at the fundraiser must be deposited into the account the day of the event. And then our Student Life front desk staff have copies of deposit slips and your organization's account numbers and detail codes should you need them to make deposits. And then all food sales must be scheduled through the Office of Student Life, and your organizations must adhere to the new guidelines. So these are the guidelines. I'm not going to review all of them. They are going to be available on this PowerPoint, which is available to you, but I'm going to hit the highlights for this. So if your event involves selling or preparing food, your organization must have a food handling license on file with the Office of Student Life, and at least one person must be present with a food handling license at all times. If your event involves selling or preparing food, you must describe the equipment that will be used and all the safety precautions that you will be using with it. If you're serving food outside, you must have overhead protection. So this would be like a pop-up tent. And then if you're serving food outside, a floor must be constructed. You must also have a floor. So that's why we will never put you on grass. We'll always put you on like a sidewalk. Food being prepared and sold has to be you had to have received it from an approved source. An approved source is considered an establishment that is under inspection and or licensed by a health authority, so grocery stores or a health inspected restaurant. All food preparation must be done on site. I'm going to repeat that. All food preparation must be done on site. So if you are going to try to make something at home to make it easier for you to make something on campus, that is a no-no. If you want to do a cake sale or a cookie sale and you want to bake those cookies at home, unless your home kitchen has been inspected by a health authority or you live in a grocery store, you can no longer do that. You have to make everything on site, okay? So no ingredients, no food or ingredients, including slicing and chopping, can be made in a private home. So that means no homemade cakes, cookies, beans, tacos, or other preparations are permitted to be sold. You must have access to a hand washing station, so you can use our on-campus bathrooms or um, using the approved water source from a container with a spigot, and a hand soap and paper towels would be also be okay. While working with food and drinks, hair restraints such as hats and hairnets must be worn at all times. You don't know how many student orgs I've had to close down because they were not wearing the proper hair protection. So you want to make sure that you have hats and hairnets available if you're going to be cooking and preparing food. Maintaining personal cleanliness and conforming to good hygiene, single-use gloves, utensils, ice scoops, and then your organization is responsible for properly disposing of wastewater and grease. So make sure you are following those. The next section we're going to talk about is showing movies on campus. Now, this isn't something fun I like to tell the organizations. It's kind of a bummer because I know a lot of orgs like to have like a movie night or something like that. But unfortunately, unless you have purchased the rights to show a movie on campus, you cannot show a movie on campus without obtaining the rights to show that material. This is considered a copyright infringement and is an offense under the law. So this is from the Federal Copyright Act. It says that copyrighted materials like movies can only be used for public performance if they are properly licensed. However, neither the rental or a purchase of a movie, so when you just go to, does anybody go to Redbox anymore? But when you go to Redbox or when you buy a movie from the $5 bin at Walmart, just because you own that movie or you rented that movie, that does not mean you have the right to show that movie in a public space. So a public performance is an exhibition of the movie that is shown outside of someone's home. So this law applies regardless of whether your event is free, if the institution is commercial or nonprofit, whether a federal, state, or local agency is involved, or what year the movie was produced. This means colleges, universities, public schools, public libraries, daycare facilities, all of those listed must properly license movies to show them to the public. So what this means, especially now in the streaming age, is that all streaming services essentially have a terms of use that you agree to when you sign up for their service. And somewhere in that term of use, it says something to the tone of that you agree not to show this, any of the streaming services movies outside of your home or beyond your household, and you agree not to use the service for public viewing. So you cannot log into Disney, you cannot log into Amazon or Netflix or YouTube and stream a movie to your club. If you want to show a movie on campus, there are some options for you. You can go to Netflix and read up on their educational screening of documentaries. Now, their documentaries, Netflix original documentaries, are open for one-time educational screenings. Or if you want to legally purchase the right to show a full movie on campus, you can visit swank.com and you can get pricing information. You can also go to public domain movies are free to show. So all you have to do is Google public domain movies and you'll find probably a variety of websites that will allow you to see what movies are now in the public domain full transparency, they're probably going to be a little bit older. But they are free and you do not need the rights to show anything in the public domain. So when you are submitting an event on JagSync, it is going to ask what kind of event is this. If you click that you are going to be showing a movie, then we are going to ask you, have you received the rights to show a movie? And then if you have not, we will need to deny that event until you receive the rights to the movie. During the time of COVID, we did discover ways around this in a way. So virtual movie watching is still an option. So you can find third-party hosts that host like Netflix Party, Disney Party, Amazon Prime Party. And so what these are platforms where your org members that have a certain, if everybody has a Netflix account, then everybody logs into their own personal Netflix account through this third party. And there's like a chat box and y'all can essentially all start watching the movie at the same time and chat with each other. And you know, it's like you're watching all together, but everybody's at home watching on their own device. So those are an options to look into. So if you are going to be, if your event that you're hosting is a civic engagement or a community service event, we do want to make sure that you are tracking this in GivePulse. GivePulse is our community service JagSync in a way. So you can still list your event in JagSync, but what we want you to do is turn off your RSVPs and link it out to your GivePulse page. So that you can collect RSVPs and GivePulse and collect service hours and reflections. If you have questions about how to get access to your GivePulse page, or if you don't know if your organization has a GivePulse page, you want to go ahead and contact the Mays Center Civic Engagement Coordinator for assistance. That person right now is Aaron Guerrero, and he's a wonderful person to get to know, and he can help you through that. If you're going to be hosting a donation drive on campus, you do need to submit a GivePulse form to submit the request to host a donation drive on campus. Those requests will be reviewed and approved on first come, first served basis. Each donation will last 2 weeks. The donation bins can be picked up by the Mays Center. And if you have any questions, feel free again to contact Aaron Guerrero, and his contact information is at the bottom of that. So this information is also going to be on the JagSync form. If you select that you're going to be doing a community service civic engagement project, you'll get prompted to fill out this form. Our monthly student organization leader meetings are held once a month, where I invite all student organization leaders, whether they're a member or a president or a vice president or an advisor. We just want to get together once a month to go over any hot topics that are going on in your student org world. This is also an opportunity for you to learn about what's going on around campus. So the meetings are for you all to attend, but also you are required to send a member to maintain your recognition status. So these are the dates of our upcoming monthly student organization leader meetings. You can find these in the student organization leader portal under events, and you can go ahead and RSVP to them. Please RSVP to them. We do provide lunch from 12 to 1, so we do want to know who is going to be in attendance. Just a reminder that these are the required trainings that you are required to do for recognition. So JagSync training, Jaguar student organization training, which is this one, risk management training. If you are going to want to fundraise, then you definitely need to do fundraising training. And then for your food handling license, that is a virtual training that you will need to do to get your license. But this is only mandatory if you will be selling food or if you're going to be hosting an event with food. If you have any questions, please reach out to the Office of Student Life in CAB Suite 103, or those phone numbers and email right there. Thank you and have a good day.